Hey you, welcome to the GreyTalks podcast. Talks about great thinking, social skills, communication, personal development and team coaching. Because in a world that is black and white, we can all use some gray. My name is Lisette van Putten and I will be having these talks with you. I'm a social skills teacher and coach and I will be sharing my thoughts, knowledge and practical tips to create your own greatness. So stay tuned and enjoy this brand new episode. Okay, let's try leaning back a little bit. Welcome to a new Great Talk. I am trying to use my comfortable chair as much as possible because I noticed when I was editing the previous episode that it was like almost like in your face, sitting really to the front. I'm gonna try leaning back a little bit. I'm not sure if it's gonna work, but okay, let's try. Welcome to a new Great Talk, episode number 5 already. I'm so excited to be here. I know I said I will dial it down with telling you how much I enjoy having these talks with you, but once in a while, I just want to share it with you. I'm just very excited to be here. I just want to share that. And I get great responses, so it motivates me to keep going. If you ever have any suggestions, topics, uh, book reviews, or like certain articles, or maybe videos or documentaries that you want me to discuss as well, just let me know because I do like to also be inspired by you. I like to inspire you with sharing my thoughts and ideas, but I also like to get inspired. So if there's ever a suggestion, a question, just please let me know. Okay, so episode number 5, we're gonna start this great talk, and it's all about social expectations. And I want to talk about that. It was slightly touched in the previous episode already when I did the book review because it's mentioned in the book as well. But I thought it is better to do a separate episode about this to also make sure that the great talks aren't like an hour and a half or 2 hours long. I just want you to be inspired and not get sick of hearing my voice talking to you. So, you know, just a brand new episode, a separate episode where we discuss social expectations. Social expectations are created through social interactions. So they are deeply rooted in cultural norms, standards, like the status quo. They are expressed throughout social media, conversations with your friends, family, with colleagues at work. So they are rooted in society. So you can also talk about societal expectations, cultural expectations, and they are the expectations that we tend to have for ourselves, but they are not ours. So they are taught, they are placed upon us as something that we should live by, live for, and aim for in life. So, what I want to talk about in this episode are the different areas in life in which we can experience those expectations. So, we can feel as if we have to live by those expectations. Maybe in some areas we have it a little bit more than others, but throughout your life, you are going to experience certain expectations that you feel like you have to live up to. So, those different areas that I'm going to highlight in this episode are personal, work, love and relationships, social, and beauty. And of course, in the end, we will discuss the great trigger and the great tip of this episode as well. So, those expectations are set in a way that if you achieve them and if you accomplish that, then there is happiness and success for you. But is that actually true? I mean, I don't really believe that, but maybe you do. Maybe you see it differently. Just share, comment, do your thing. Let me know what you think. Let's start with the first topic. Personal. Okay, so then if it's true, having your life figured out brings you happiness and success. Would that be true? Being happy all the time is not possible. Being unhappy is part of life. I've been repeating it in the previous episode, in some reels and shorts on different socials, because I think it's really important to normalize the fact that it's okay to not be okay. So I'm just going to repeat that over and over and over again. And of course, having your life figured out is really nice. And when you know what you want and what you're working for is really helpful. However, I think it's important to just be real and admit to the fact that we are doing the best that we can, but sometimes we have no clue of what we are doing. We have no idea, and we might struggle. We might not know what we want. Um, but I mean, it's part of life. Having life figured out, I believe, is not the recipe to happiness and a successful life. I think figuring out life is a journey, and I think is something that we will continue doing throughout our entire life, because having your life figured out at 21 looks different than having your life figured out at 32, at 50, at 75. I think it's not the same. So you are constantly evolving, and if you're not, then I think because you're constantly evolving and you're growing and you're developing yourself, and life happens. So even if you think that you have your life figured out, I don't know, a big event can happen, and it can be a traumatic event, but it can also be a really happy event. It can just impact your life, and that's also fleeing, because when we experience a trauma, it's not like the feeling that we have afterwards of the sadness and the grief, sometimes like the anger, everything. It's also fleeing, because you will process it and it will change your perspective on things, and you will grow from it. So it's not fixed. So is having your life figured out the key to happiness and success? Eh, maybe like a small percentage can be really helpful. To be knowing to know what you're doing. I mean, having your life figured out gives you a focus, gives you a goal, and you will have to create the opportunities to achieve that goal. But if you don't have your life figured out, it opens a box of plenty of opportunities, because everything is possible. So, I mean, I think it can be really nice to have an idea of what it is that you want to do, that you can work for. But I also think that there needs to be enough room to have creative ideas, to have mental breakdowns because you don't know what you're doing. Because those are also very teachable moments and very helpful to eventually create a meaningful life. Okay, second area, work, or maybe study, or maybe both a little bit. What statement will I use? So, uh, yes, having money leads to happiness and success. Again, if you agree or think differently than what I am saying, please let me know, comment. I am very curious. So, we're living in a world in which the expectation is that we should study and study, and afterwards we work and we work and we work, work a little bit more, and that's it. So, we have to work hard and earn a lot of money, because then we're successful, and success equals happiness. And if you do it differently, people get confused. I myself am the perfect example of confusing a lot of people when it comes to not doing the things that are expected. After I studied, I did work full time, but it was not for me. I thought there was more to it to actually create my own meaningful life, including a meaningful job. So I started working part time. I started building my business, and working part time is seen as less, I think. And a lot of my colleagues always thought that the days that I wasn't working with them, I was free, I had a day off, or was just not doing much else. As for I was working different part time jobs, teaching classes at the gym, working on my business, going back to school and study more, learn more about all the different topics that I want to talk to you about in these great talks, helping me build my business, grow my business. So, yeah, working part time was a part of that, and people don't see all the other stuff that I was doing, so they just assumed that I had a day off and was lying on my couch watching Netflix, which sometimes I do. Um, but that's besides the point. And then there are also the people that acknowledge that I am doing things differently, outside of the box, not according to the social expectations. And they'll say, oh, but yeah, you can do that. It's so amazing that you can go to Bonaire for 6 months and work there. Or, yeah, you can start a study and become a teacher as well. Or, yeah, you can work part time. If I can do it, you can do it too. So if you feel like your current job isn't meaningful enough or isn't giving you as much joy as you want, and there is a bunch of other stuff that you want to do, it's just about prioritizing, and you will find a way. If you prioritize it differently, it will find a way. Because I believe when it comes to work, having a meaningful job is the road to being successful and happy. Because when you're happy with what you are doing and you can do it really, really well, I think you can be really successful with that. And I mean, I understand that it's scary and it's risky even, and it's very confusing as well. I mean, I'm still working on it, trying to figure everything out. This week has been very interesting when it comes to taxes and the whole financial administration when it comes to my work situation from last year. I shed a bunch of tears. I was really overwhelmed, really confused. So, I mean, it won't be easy, but I'm working on it and I'm trying to sort everything out. And I'm actually extra motivated to do what it is that I really like doing and enjoy doing. So, I am aware of the fact that when you do things differently and not according to the systems that are in place, it can be harder and more complicated and definitely confusing. But I believe it can be really worth it, because if there's something that you dream of doing and you never try doing it, then you will definitely regret it. So just try it. And I want to say, disclaimer here, this is not me telling everyone that they should quit their job and start their own business, only if you want to. And another disclaimer, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to work for a company and work accordingly to those expectations when it comes to work life. I mean, we should all do what makes us happy. But I do believe that there are different perspectives when it comes to the way you organize your working life. And I think that there's a lot of pressure on doing it the way that the systems that are in place are implying that we should do it. Okay, next is love and relationships. The statement would be, being in a relationship leads to success and happiness. So a successful life, a happy life means that you are in a relationship. Just listen to what I have to say about this. If you agree, let me know. If you don't agree, let me know as well. Just comment, share your ideas, please. So after I recently became single, I was just dealing with me, myself, and I. But my friends were asking me whether or not I was already thinking about dating again, if I was on any of the dating apps. And them asking that made me feel as if I had to be dating to be okay and to actually be happy, as if being single equals not being happy. Well, let me tell you something about that. And I want to be really, really clear because I think it's really important. Single does not mean lonely. Single does not mean sad. And single does not mean incomplete. So, ergo, you don't need to be in a relationship to be happy or successful. If you are in a relationship, then the expectation is that the relationship should be fun and happy and lovely and sexy and caring all the time. If we as a person cannot be happy all the time, be sexy all the time, be fun all the time, how can a relationship be that? A relationship should be ugly and messy and complicated and painful too, because that actually makes it a true connection. Because then you are accepting those parts of yourself, and that is what you bring into your relationship. So if you are your truest self, that is when you make a true connection. And that means that a relationship cannot be sunny all the time. There's rain and storm and thunderstorms and all of that too. And when you are dating, there's this thing that I learned recently and I think is also really important to think about, because when you are dating and you are having this new connection, you have this fling, this flow, this vibe with someone, and it's really nice. There is a lot of excitement, but there's also a lot of stress. So, what I learned is that what we do is that we combine those things into the feeling that we have when we are starting something new. So there's the combination of excitement, the thrill, and there's the stress that we you feel like. Do they actually like me? Did I talk too much? Can I text something right now, or do I have to wait? What should I wear? Like all those things. What do they think of me? Is like the stressy part of that new thing. So the excitement, the stress is a combination that we experience. And when we continue dating, that excitement, that rush, that changes into comfort and maybe love. So there's this foundation that we are creating. But there might not be as much of a rush as we experienced in the beginning. And then we actually start missing that rush and that excitement, and we start chasing that feeling again. So what that video said was we should be aware of the fact that it's the excitement and the stress that is combined in the beginning of a new connection. And when that stress ends and we only have that excitement, which turns into comfort and love and stability, then we start chasing the rush again. So is being in a relationship actually part of the recipe to becoming happy and successful? I don't really believe it. I think true connections are, and I think that is important. I will talk about that a little more later. And I think open, transparent communication about what it is that we are seeking, feeling, and what our expectations are within a relationship is very important. And then we have social. So the statement would say having a lot of friends equals happiness and success. I used to think that. I used to believe that. I used to believe that I had to be popular and friends with many people, and then I would be really happy. Nowadays, I believe true connections are more important. I don't like superficial small talk connections. I like deep connections, true connections, deep conversations. I believe it's about the quality of the connection. So I rather have less friends but true connections than many friends and all superficial small talk things. I don't I don't really do that. No. And then there's this expectation that we should be socially active and go out a lot and meet people, because when you are surrounded by people and that brings you joy, and then that's part of becoming happy and successful. I don't think being socially active is the standard that we should live by. I think we should live by how much a person can take socially. And sometimes that's more. And you go out and you meet a lot of people, and you're connecting with multiple people throughout an event. Or sometimes that is choosing to not be part of a social event because you need to just lay on your couch and watch some series or a movie. And last but not least, there are these expectations and standards about beauty. This statement is being beautiful means being happy and successful. Well, I hope we can agree that that is not the case, but again, if you think differently, let me know. Share your thoughts, your ideas as well. I did talk about it a little bit in the previous episode already, that there are these images on social media and we are comparing ourselves to those styled personal brands that are created, and it actually makes us have these ideal pictures of what a body should look like, what beauty actually is. And we comparing ourselves to people that aren't closely similar to the way we look, the way our bodies are built, the way, I don't know, like the color of your eyes, the colors of your hair, and the way your genetics actually created you, like the unique version that is you. And we try to be the same as all those images. And I notice it when I teach my classes at the gym. People ask me to help them sort of like remodel their selves into this picture that they see on social media, or these videos that they see. And I do the same things in my sport classes as I do here, because I explain things, I talk about technique, because I believe that that is what you need to understand your body as well, and to be aware of what it's capable of and what is something that you can achieve, and what is actually also realistically something that you can achieve, and something that you are not. And I am really happy to see some of the changes on social media as well, where people are sharing like pictures of me and also me, and when me is like styled and posed, and also me is just like lunching and sitting and like showing a little bit more of what a real body actually looks like. So I do like that that is happening. However, I think it's too little, and it's flooded with all these other posts that show us what we think we should actually look like. But is beauty something that is part of that recipe of being happy and successful? I think body confidence is really important, and I think that that is something that can help you be happier with yourself. And that means that we should actually know more on how a body works, what realistic goals you can actually set, um, and work for and aim for. So that's for the 5 areas of social expectations that I just want to put out there. I think many more talks will go more into detail about certain things or aspects that we talked about in this episode. So we talked about having your life figured out and how it's not necessarily the way to success and happiness, and that it's okay to not know where you're going in certain parts of your life, and that it's an ongoing journey, and figuring out life is actually what life is, I believe. And we talked about whether having money leads to happiness and success, and where I stated that having a meaningful job is actually more important. We talked about whether being in a relationship is the road to happiness, um, and or success. And I stated, and I'm gonna say it again, being single is not the same as being lonely, is not the same as being sad, is not the same as being incomplete. And that relationships cannot be all fun and happy and sexy and caring, and that they should be ugly and painful and complicated too, because then we are actually bringing our truest self into a relationship. And I think open and transparent communication can actually lead to happier relationships. And we talked about how having many, many, many friends should lead to a happy and successful life, where I believe true connections actually do. And last but not least, the beauty part and how beauty should lead to a happy and successful life, and where I stated that I think body confidence can lead to that or can help with that. And also in this episode, of course, a great trigger and a great tip. My great trigger when it comes to social expectations is how we can actually ask how the other person is doing according to those expectations. Because there are people that can ask how you are, but they are actually implying that they are curious to learn more on what it is that you are doing with your life, what keeps you busy, because you are currently not living according to those expectations or to those standards. And I just think that's really annoying, because are you interested in what is going on with me and how I actually am doing? Or are you curious because it's different from what you are doing and you are assuming things, or you might have an opinion about that you would like to share? My great tip would be to just ask the questions on how someone is actually really doing, and not steering the conversation into a way to get your assumptions or your expectations across. If you are interested and you are curious, then use that curiosity to start a conversation and ask questions. So that would be my great tip. Thank you for listening to this episode of Great Talks. Please let me know what you think, ask me anything, and spread greatness by sharing these talks with everyone you think needs a little bit more grey. Don't forget to be great until our next Great Talk.